When I first heard about a documentary on my friend Stuart Scott, and it was going to be a 30 for 30, I'm like, who's directing it? Who is it? And then I heard it's a guy who's not only done many films, but did a fun documentary, an interesting documentary on Dick Gregory, as well as Life After Jackie Robinson, called After Jackie, with LeBron James as an executive producer. I'm like, all right, now we're in business. And the number of people that write to me, text me, this 30 for 30 on Stuart Scott has gutted me. Andre Gaines, the director, is here on the Rich Eisen Show. Great to see you, sir. How are you?
Good to see you again. Yeah.
Congrats on everything, man.
Thank you.
Hope you don't mind. I have this photograph out.
This is
here
totally
for us.
appropriate. Yeah.
You know,
no, it's wonderful to see.
It's the only, that's us back in the day.
I mean, that's what I grew up on,
dude.
I told you. Guys,
I know you told me that.
Woke me up, put me to bed. Yeah.
But I mean, wow. I mean, what a. First of all, how did you get involved to start?
The blessing was ESPN actually called me. You know, I've been in the business for a little while, so I know a number of folks.
Sure you do.
And Marcia Cook is a good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Actually gave me a call. You know, you mentioned my film, Dick Gregory, one and only Dick Gregory.
Yes.
I'd seen that movie and a couple other films of mine, and asked me to do this. They didn't know how big of a fan I was, you know, prior to calling me. They didn't know that I had studied journalism, which were, you know, alma mater mates at Northwestern University,
mm-hmm.
and that you know, was enamored with Stuart, and so it was 1,000 times yes as soon as they gave me a call to actually do it. And then I met Taylor and Sydney and his daughters,
mm-hmm.
Stuart's daughters, and the rest of the family, and it just was kind of off to the races after that.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And how long you that was in the hopper for a while?
It was in the hopper, yeah, for a good while. I was just telling a friend that the first call that I got about it was like late 2022, and we're shooting another movie in 2023, and
right.
So then we finally got really started. I think I'd interviewed Sydney because she was overseas. This is Stuart's youngest daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And she was going back overseas to study. She was in school. And I had interviewed her in Christmas of 23. And so that process was kind of over that whole time.
Right.
And then I think we first announced it in spring of 24. And you were one of the first people to raise your hand, which was, was beautiful. You know?
I'd do anything to keep his memory alive and people talking about
it.
You know? I mean, because it's amazing. It's amazing. It's not amazing. It's just he's been gone 11 years.
Yeah, it's incredible, you know, to think of it being that
just last month,
that long.
Just last month.
Being 11 years.
It's 11 months.
11 years on the 5th of January.
I'll never obviously forget that day.
Yeah.
Back here on the Rich Eisen Show with our radio audience just rejoined us. We're already off and running on our TV side of things, ESPN2, Disney Plus, and the ESPN app with Andre Gaines, the director of the Stuart Scott 30 for 30 Boo-Yah, where everybody could still see it. It's I still get texts out of the blue from people saying how gutted they are.
Likewise.
By this documentary. And, you know, when you and I were talking about it last December, we were out there in New York when it first came out, and you asked me, you know, hey, have I seen it, what I think? And I said I couldn't bring myself to watch it yet, and that I was going to sit down with my kids because they're 17 and at the time 14 and 12. They didn't know Stuart. They didn't remember Stuart.
Yeah, they got a chance to get introduced to him.
And the fact that Stuart was at our wedding, and you know, and he's been so integral in the life of me and my wife Susie, who I met in the ESPN newsroom.
Right
there.
A great story that I wish I could had more time to put into the movie.
And I do want to get into that in a second, but I did show it to all three kids at once.
Yeah. What was the?
And they were blown away, you know. First of all, that I, you know, and that their parents knew him, number one, and we're like, we didn't just know him, like this is the real thing.
Yeah.
But also his story, and knowing what a crucial story it is to tell. And I'm wondering, like, how did you decide which stories to tell and what weight to give them in the documentary.
I mean, that's always the hard part, right? When you're making a movie, you only have a certain amount of real estate. And I remember sitting and talking to the team, to the ESPN executives, and even my own team at the beginning, saying like, we're going to need a bigger boat here. This is just too much. And they were really, meaning the team at ESPN was, very precious about it, obviously, but also forced me to really focus on the highs and lows of Stewart's story that would make for a really great film. And I'm thankful for them, for that. They were very supportive of me through the whole process. It was not an easy process, way harder than probably anything I've ever made. I mean, I would say more of an emotional journey than any film that I've ever made, for sure.
Well, the thing that I was taken aback by, even though I shouldn't have been, because I knew Stewart, and I knew that Stewart, as much as he loved his daughters, he loved his family, he loved, he had pride in so much of what he did. But Stewart also loved him a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I could not. I was taken aback by how much he recorded of himself.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
All the time.
Yeah, that was the
Camcorders.
gift. That was manna from heaven,
When did you find out that there was so much source material that he was essentially unwittingly providing you?
Yeah,
from jump of his
from beyond the grave. Yeah, it was the gift that just kept giving. I swear we could have made a 4-part documentary out of this thing. There's so much of it. I mean, just selfies before it was a thing, right? I mean, and these are with clunky cameras.
Yeah.
It's not like a sleek phone. This is a
where you
big old
where you hit that, reverse.
You hit the reverse
button.
thing, and he's turning it around on his face. And
there was footage. I had no idea there was footage of him and Kim getting engaged.
Like through leaves and
unbelievable.
all this sort of stuff. And so we just had this treasure trove of it, and a lot of it, was Kim, Stewart's ex-wife. She had a lot of this material, a lot of this footage, a lot of these photos that she kept. There was a lot from the ESPN archives themselves. There was a lot from his siblings. Just piles and piles of it. I mean, it was just so much. And so it was very difficult
There's
to
that
whittle it
one
down.
shot of him where he's got the camera and he puts the microphone down and he walks off into the sunset.
Yes.
And you as a filmmaker see that, you're like, that's the last shot?
I didn't believe it when I saw it. When my team, my editorial team showed this to me, I was just like, what is this, AI or something? I was like, there's no way that this is actually happening. Because endings are like the hardest things. Endings and beginnings of movies are like the hardest things to like figure out. Like you can figure out the meat of a story somewhat fairly early, but how to start it, how to bring people into it, and how to take them out of it. And the fact that we had this, which was our ending, this was the ending of the movie, which we started with. We started the process of making this movie, knowing that this was the end.
So you had that source material.
We had that pretty early.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you worked
And so
backwards?
we just worked backwards.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's that everything that we're doing needs to serve 2 things. It needed to serve this ending of him walking literally off into the sunset, and it needed to serve his ESPY speech. So it was those 2 pieces where it was like everything that we're doing here, when we're telling this story, need to service what he's going to say in this farewell speech that a lot of people didn't realize. And also the fact that he, as a young man, had set up this camera, recorded himself, and said, I'm going to walk off into the sunset. And it's like, wow, this is an incredible gift. So yeah, it was really touching. It was a hard movie to make. It was just like, not only just the realities of, I mean, every production is difficult. It's a difficult process if you're doing it right, I should say. But just getting to know Stewart as a fan in this process, yeah, it was just really hard. And when we, cut sort of the sequence where he does ultimately pass away, I was working with my editor, on that Cinque Northern, and I didn't hear from him for a couple of days.
What do you mean?
Well, he had taken my notes, and normally he would turn them around pretty quickly to me, but I didn't hear from him for a few days, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's like, text me back, I'm messed up. I'm really
Wow.
messed up. And he sent it to me. It's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to make it through this. And I like to watch, when I'm watching any part of the film, I like to watch the whole thing, kind of like from beginning to end. And I, remember sitting on the couch and watching this and kind of getting to that moment where you're saying people were keep texting you about.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh boy," I said, "Yeah, here it comes." I just sort of felt it kind of wave, come over me when we got to this moment in the story, and it still hits me even now.
Me too,
Just
man. Just
watching
you,
it.
Andre Gaines here, the director of the 30 for 30 Boo-Yah, on Stuart Scott here on the Rich Eisen Show. When you just mentioned the ESPY speech,
Hmm.
that gets me every time, and it's not just the context of it and how sick he was, and the message, which is beautiful. What gets me, even right now, is one of the first things the two of us did outside of Sports Center that made us feel like we're a team.
Hmm.
This is it. Like we've arrived. Is we used to do the pre-ESPYs show
Right,
up in the balcony that Dan and Keith used to do.
right.
Okay, and we're like, so Dan and Keith had graduated from that, and now here we are. All right. Like Dan and Keith always referred to it as like the old man Muppets, up in up
Yeah,
in
right.
that part of
Yeah, on the
Radio City
balcony.
Music,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And here we were doing this, and it was just moments, after Jim Valvano had passed, and his
Hmm.
speech would have already been iconic. And if you had told me that Stewart would be in the same position,
Yeah,
I can't even think about it without getting choked up.
yeah.
That he would wind up being the same
It
situation.
would come full circle.
It would. That he would meet the moment as well.
Right.
That doesn't surprise me, because he met every moment. And that's the other part about this story too, that I think you nailed, is the joy. His joy. He was a joyful man.
Yeah.
He was a child. He was
a total child.
He
Yeah.
was a man,
Right.
which is why kids loved him.
Right.
Which is why people watching Sports Center loved him, because he was joyful. He was a child.
And it was just so relatable, it was just so relatable. It was easy to like fall in love with Stewart. And as somebody who grew up on him, and you, and I've said this to you off camera, I feel the same about you.
Oh, no.
Not
thank
that
you
you're
for saying
asking for this.
Not at all.
Not
Not
that
at
you're
all.
asking for it, but
Not at all.
the truth is the same. It's just like about you. And I think that it just was the fact that you guys were coming into, our living rooms on a daily basis. And back when that was like the only thing,
Mhm.
there wasn't all of the distractions of social media and all the distractions of streaming and all the, there's so many different ways to consume now that it was just this one way.
Yeah, we did it in a time where we were actually informing people maybe for the first time, or showing
Exactly
them
right.
the videos that now you could see in the palm of your hand. So that it's a different era
Yeah.
now. I mean, and in terms of, the source material that you do have,
Hmm.
okay, the can't something be done with it? Like, are you talking about doing more?
I mean, possibly.
Because there's,
Yeah.
I know from our interviews, I'm sure
Oh,
I'm sure
sure.
you interviewed, everybody for the same amount of time, and then the fact that you boiled in his upbringing, his ascension, his plateauing, and then his meteoric rise, then his illness,
Mhm.
all in a 90 minutes. I mean, there must be so much more
There
material
is.
that I
Yeah.
think fans would love to see.
Yeah, we just ran out of time. I mean, we talked about potential podcasts. We talked about um, shorts. We talked about other media,
Right.
things like that, to be able to kind of expand it. There was only a handful of people, just to be clear, that I talked to as long as you and I talked.
okay.
You know, just by the way, we talked to a lot of people because everyone wanted to talk.
Of course.
Everybody wanted to talk. And one thing that I thought was really interesting that I didn't end up putting in the movie was the fact that nobody thought Stewart wasn't going to beat it.
Well, that's the youth.
With
That's the joy.
Right,
That's
because he was so
exactly
full of life. Somebody I mean, you actually said this. I think you were I told you this, that you were how I found out about his passing. So it was on your show,
NFL Network.
and NFL Network. That's how I found out about it, about him passing. And
Me too, by the way.
yeah, you say like 10 minutes. Yeah. And so the only two people that really felt, you know, something was not right, which I did put in the movie, was Taylor, and then his dear friend Barb Lee. But you know, again, if you're looking at anybody, it's going to be Stewart that's going to be able to make it. But at the end of the day, we're all mortal, you know, and thank God of the life that he did give us. I mean, he's 49 years old. He lived three lives in that period of time. I think anybody could be lucky to achieve a modicum, you know, of what it is that he was able to in that period of time. It's really an extraordinary life, you know, to be able to do that much in that period of time.
Can I keep you to the end of the hour?
Oh yeah,
Let's
sure.
do it.
I'm here.
Okay, very good. Andre Gaines is here. I can't have enough Stuart Scott talk here on the Rich Eisen Show. Boo-Yah, with the 30 for 30 is available through all of the Disney family of networks for you to take in. It's never too late. Back here with Andre Gaines here, the director of the 30 for 30 Boo-Yah. Actually, I just said it the way that he spelled it. I think I told you that story, right? That he used to spell everything out on his shot sheets.
Yeah.
All of his catchphrases. He would get the shot sheets in the middle of the commercial break. He would ask the lights to go up because his eyes were bad. And then he would write down everything. All of his he would know, okay, that highlight, that's good for Cooler Than the Other Side of the Pillow. All right, that one is good for, you know, Sound and Fury Signifying Nothing. That one's good for You Must Be Jam. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He used some Shakespeare. There's another one like that must be jam because jelly don't shake
Yeah,
like
heard that one. Yeah.
Like, and he would just write them down. But he would write down Boo-Yah, Boo-Yah. I know that doesn't fit the narrative, but
yeah, that's right.
that's what he would say.
Yeah, that was the initial iteration of what we heard.
That was it. But Boo-Yah was, I think, placed into the lexicon along with Stewart with Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, there was like T-shirts and stuff.
And then when SNL did it,
yeah,
that was the end of it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was good.
He was not, he can't, I think I told this story too. You remember that? The Sweet Sassy Molassie?
Oh, yeah. Ray Romano.
Okay, where Tim Meadows played Stewart.
Yeah,
and then Ray Romano played some guy, wasn't me.
I don't know who he was playing.
I don't know, he's just playing just generic
just
Sports
a generic
Center
Sports
anchor.
Center guy.
But it was like his first day or something, right? That was the
Yeah, and he
character.
came in and Sweet Sassy Molassie, and they just did all that. Stewart comes in, he acted upset. And I'm like,
oh, what upset it being,
dude,
being lampooned on SNL? That's the highest honor.
It is. That's what I told him.
That's the highest honor. You know you made it if you've been made.
And then he's just like, well, would you have been happy if Ray Romano had your name on it doing, this? I'm like, no, not so much.
It was BYOB. Bring your own Boo-Yah. Great.
He was not. He came out. I'm like, that's the end goal. That's
my youngest son, my 6-year-old, is saying "Boo-Yah" now with no idea why.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
his dad crushed it on the 30 for 30. 2 minutes left here with Andre Gaines. I'll be straight up with you, man. I mentioned it here on the show the other day. I'm in the stadium, Super Bowl 60, watching the Bad Bunny halftime, and I'm like, boy, this guy is doing his thing, talking about himself. He is genuinely himself. Lots of people are saying, "Don't be genuinely yourself." And he's doubling down, he's tripling down, quadrupling down.
Right.
And I'm like sitting there thinking, who does this remind me of?
Exactly.
I swear to you, I thought this watching Bad Bunny's halftime show, and I'm like, this is what Stewart would have done.
Yeah.
If he was in Bad Bunny's shoes.
Well,
he did that every night on
He'd be out
SportsCenter.
there on the set.
Because Stewart, when he was doing SportsCenter and he was doing his catchphrases and he was pulling stuff from his pop culture, a lot of folks were saying, that's not my SportsCenter, so you're not talking about me. To heck with you. That's how Stewart wound up being the most beloved and disliked SportsCenter anchor in a USA Today poll at the same time, which really upset him, and I don't blame him. I'm wondering, how much of that did you hear anybody from ESPN saying, let's not talk about some of the folks there at the time, telling them to tone it down?
I'm not blowing smoke here. Like, I actually am extremely grateful at how supportive ESPN was.
Well, it's clear through your work that it came out there. But I'm asking questions that I think a lot of people were asking.
Well, yeah, people have asked me that all the time because I just said that when I first came onto this, I said, I'm going to tell a 360-degree story here, warts and all, trials and triumphs. It's just what it's going to be. In order for it to be interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we could make a pretty homage piece and get all our families around and watch it together, and and that'd be kind of the end of it. But for something to hit here, for something to actually resonate with an audience, for somebody to actually experience the nostalgia that they remember, but then also have an understanding of the sacrifices that this guy made, you need to tell the whole story. And they didn't shy away from it, at all. We made the decision, myself and my team, not to, name names or anything like that. We weren't being sort of specific in that way, just because otherwise it sort of felt like we were picking on people. But to understand it from a holistic standpoint of what Stewart actually went through was important. This was an important piece of the puzzle that we wanted to make sure was shared. That only you and other colleagues knew, and friends of his, people and family members that experienced this sort of behind the scenes, because he was never verbose about that sort of thing. Just going back through the footage and the sort of annals of history, and even his own book, he wasn't sort of outwardly spoken about his experiences within the walls of the newsroom, put it that way. And I think that was part of his very sort of curated personality in a way. But now, many years, obviously, after his passing and obviously making a film, that's the opportunity to dramatize some of these things and to really be able to tell a story that nobody's ever heard. We didn't want to do a visual Wikipedia version,
He would come to work sometimes. He would be pissed. He'd be pissed about some of the notes that he received and wondered if we got the same notes. And
we put some of that in the movie.
I know, and you put the actual notes.
The actual.
Damn, man.
What is it? The post show notes?
Yeah, like the notes from the coordinating producers talking to the, if you will, higher ups. And there are a couple times when I'm wondering, like, is he going to be the same self tonight? Because he's not happy. He's pissed. He got through it, and then he showed up and he's Stuart Scott. And then he wouldn't pull back. He would then do deaf poetry jam lead-ins.
Yeah, he would
say,
quadruple down.
He would say, I need a microphone and I need a spotlight, and I'm doing a lead-in deaf poetry style.
Right.
I'll show everybody what it's about. I watched it. That's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, there were stories that we heard, again, just not with time to put them in the film, but even just about Boo-Yah. Him being mocked about it in some circles within the walls, of people sort of saying, "Oh, here comes the Boo-Yah guy." But it was a lot of it was jealousy. It just got so popular that going to the Bristol campus, to the ESPN headquarters, and seeing that wall of catchphrases, which we put a bit of it in the film. Yeah. And the biggest one there is Boo-Yah. It's a signifier of this long history of this great network of one of the guys that particularly stood out.
Great job, Andre Gaines.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you making a beautiful film about something that needed the spotlight and you to focus on it.